Here's a truth that's as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. These words, written by Marcus Aurelius, one of history's greatest Stoic philosophers, cut straight to the heart of what it means to live with confidence in a world full of uncertainty. Think about it. How often do we let external circumstances, what people say, what happens to us, or what we can't control, dictate how we feel about ourselves? That's the modern struggle with self-doubt in a nutshell. But what if there was a way to break free from that cycle? A way to build a mindset so unshakable that no matter what life throws at you, you remain grounded, focused, and truly confident. That's what Stoicism offers, not as some ancient philosophy locked away in dusty books, but as a practical, actionable tool for modern life. In this video, we'll explore how the Stoic principles of emotional control, resilience, and focusing on what's within your control can transform the way you approach confidence. Whether you're facing a high-pressure situation, dealing with self-doubt, or simply looking to strengthen your inner foundation, this journey into the Stoic mindset is for you. Ready to discover how to build confidence that doesn't waver? Let's begin. What if your confidence isn't about what happens to you, but how you perceive it? This is where Stoicism offers a profound shift in perspective. The ancient Stoics, like Marcus Aurelius, taught that our reality isn't shaped by events themselves, but by the way we interpret those events. In his Meditations, Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." It's a simple yet radical idea. The way we see the world is the lens through which we experience it. Take Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, who famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." He argued that we're not disturbed by events, we're disturbed by our judgments about those events. Think about it. Two people can face the same situation, like harsh criticism at work, and respond in completely different ways. One might crumble under self-doubt, while the other sees it as an opportunity to grow. The difference, perception. Let's bring this into a modern context. Imagine you're presenting a project at work, and your manager points out flaws in your approach. If you perceive their feedback as a personal attack, you might feel defeated, your confidence shaken. But if you choose to see it as constructive criticism, a chance to improve, your mindset shifts entirely. Suddenly, the same event becomes a stepping stone rather than a stumbling block. This is the power of perception. It transforms challenges into opportunities. So how do you apply this? Start by noticing how you interpret setbacks. When something doesn't go as planned, ask yourself, am I reacting to the event itself or to my judgment about it? This simple question can help you reframe your perspective. Over time, you'll find that confidence grows not from avoiding challenges, but from mastering how you perceive them. And that's where true resilience begins. Stoicism teaches that true confidence comes from focusing on what's within your power. This idea is at the heart of the Stoic philosophy, and it's something Epictetus emphasized time and time again. He called it the dichotomy of control, the simple but profound idea that some things are within our control and others are not. Think about it. You can't control the weather, other people's opinions, or whether the traffic will make you late. But what you can control is how you respond to these situations. Your thoughts, your actions, your attitude, these are the things that truly belong to you. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." How often do we waste energy worrying about outcomes we can't change? Imagine you're preparing for a big presentation. You can't control whether your audience will like it or if technical issues might arise. But you can control how well you prepare, how clearly you communicate, and how you handle any unexpected challenges. That's where your power lies, in your preparation, your mindset, and your ability to adapt. So take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you spending energy on things outside your control? Maybe it's a relationship, a work project, or even a personal goal. What would it look like to shift your focus to what you can influence? By doing this, you're not just building confidence, you're reclaiming your power. And that's where unstoppable confidence begins. Imagine leading an empire during a time of war, disease, and political turmoil. That was the reality for Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most famous Stoic philosophers and Roman emperors. Despite the immense pressure, he didn't crumble under the weight of his challenges. He used them as fuel for growth. In his personal writings, later known as Meditations, he often reflected on the idea that adversity isn't something to avoid but something to embrace. For Marcus, every obstacle was an opportunity to practice virtue, strengthen his character, and deepen his understanding of life. This leads us to one of the most powerful Stoic concepts, amor fati, or love of fate. It's the idea that we should not only accept what happens to us but welcome it, even when it's difficult. Why? Because every challenge, every setback, and every failure is a chance to grow. The Stoics believed that life's difficulties are like a blacksmith's forge. They shape us into stronger, wiser versions of ourselves. As Seneca once wrote, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. In other words, obstacles aren't roadblocks, they're stepping stones. Let's bring this closer to home. Think about a time when you faced a personal failure. Maybe you didn't get the job you wanted, or a relationship didn't work out. At the time, it probably felt like a blow, but looking back, did it teach you something? Did it push you to grow in ways you wouldn't have otherwise? That's the essence of amor fati. It's about shifting your perspective to see struggles not as punishments but as opportunities to build resilience, learn, and evolve. So, how can you start applying this mindset to your own life? The next time you're faced with a challenge, pause and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this situation help me grow? Reframing your struggles in this way doesn't make them disappear, but it gives you the power to face them with courage and purpose. After all, adversity isn't the enemy, it's the teacher. And when you embrace it, you unlock a level of confidence and strength that's truly unstoppable. What if your confidence didn't hinge on whether you succeeded or failed? Imagine a life where your sense of self-worth wasn't tied to external outcomes, where you could pursue your goals with unwavering determination, regardless of how things turned out. This is the essence of Stoic detachment, a practice that teaches us to focus on what's within our control and let go of what isn't. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that while we can't always control the results of our efforts, we can always control the effort itself. It's about committing to virtuous action, doing the right thing for the right reasons, and leaving the rest to fate. Think about it this way: when you apply for a job, you can prepare thoroughly, present yourself authentically, and give your best during the interview. But whether you get the job or not, that's out of your hands. The Stoic approach isn't about not caring. It's about caring deeply enough to do your part while refusing to let the outcome dictate your peace of mind. Take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you overly attached to results? Maybe it's a project at work, a relationship, or even a personal goal. What would it feel like to pour your energy into the process itself without fear of rejection or failure? This shift in mindset doesn't just build confidence, it frees you from the emotional roller coaster of external validation. Detachment isn't about giving up, it's about stepping into your power. When you focus on effort rather than outcomes, you cultivate a quiet strength that no setback can shake. So the next time you face a challenge, ask yourself, am I doing my best? If the answer is yes, then that's enough. The rest is simply life unfolding as it will. True confidence comes from within, not from external validation. This is one of the most powerful lessons Stoicism teaches us. Imagine for a moment that your sense of worth isn't tied to what others think of you or to the unpredictable ups and downs of life. Instead, it's rooted in something solid, something you can always rely on: your inner resilience. The Stoics believed that building this unshakable core is the key to facing life's challenges with unwavering confidence. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's most famous practitioners, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." What he's saying here is profound. Chaos will always exist around us: unexpected setbacks, criticism, or even full-blown crises. But when you focus on what you can control, your thoughts, your actions, your character, you become untouchable. External circumstances might shake the world around you, but they don't have to shake you. Think about a modern-day example. Imagine you're in a high-pressure situation at work. Deadlines are looming, tensions are high, and everything feels like it's on the verge of falling apart. A Stoic approach wouldn't involve panicking or seeking reassurance from others. Instead, it would mean taking a deep breath, grounding yourself in the present moment, and asking, "What can I do right now to move forward?" By focusing on your discipline, your effort, and your ability to stay calm, you're exercising that inner resilience. You're not waiting for someone else to save the day, you're trusting yourself to handle it. Now, take a moment to reflect. Where in your life could you stand to build more of this inner strength? Maybe it's in how you respond to criticism or how you handle uncertainty. The Stoics remind us that resilience isn't something you're born with, it's something you cultivate through practice. Every time you choose self-discipline over impulsiveness or virtue over ego, you're strengthening that inner core. And over time, this becomes your foundation, a source of confidence that no external force can take away. How often do you let past regrets or future anxieties rob you of confidence? It's easy to get caught up in what went wrong yesterday or what might go wrong tomorrow. But Stoicism teaches us that true confidence comes from living fully in the present moment. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, often wrote about the fleeting nature of time. He reminded us that life is short, and every moment we spend dwelling on the past or worrying about the future is a moment we lose forever. As he put it, we are not given a short life, but we make it short by wasting time. Epictetus, another Stoic sage, echoed this idea when he said, "We should always be asking ourselves, is this something that is or is not in my control?" When we focus on what's happening right now, what we can see, touch, and influence, we reclaim our power. The past is already written and the future is uncertain, but the present is where we can act with clarity and purpose. Let's say you're in the middle of a stressful situation, maybe a high-stakes meeting or a difficult conversation. Instead of letting your mind race with what-ifs or replaying past mistakes, Stoicism encourages you to ground yourself in the present. Notice the details around you, the sound of your breath, the feel of the chair beneath you, the words being spoken. By anchoring yourself in the moment, you cut through the noise of anxiety and step into a place of calm, confident action. Here's a challenge for you. Take a few minutes today to practice being fully present. Whether you're eating a meal, walking outside, or simply sitting quietly, bring your attention to the here and now. Notice the sensations, the sounds, the small details you might usually overlook. The more you practice this, the more you'll find that confidence isn't something you need to chase. It's already within you, waiting to be uncovered in the present moment. Confidence isn't the absence of fear, it's the mastery of it. Think about that for a moment. True confidence doesn't mean you never feel fear, doubt, or discomfort. It means you've learned to observe those emotions without letting them dictate your actions. This is where Stoicism shines. The Stoics believed that emotions are natural, but they don't have to control us. Instead, we can step back, notice what we're feeling, and choose how to respond. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. Let's break this down with a practical example. Imagine you're in a heated argument with someone. Emotions are running high: anger, frustration, maybe even a touch of defensiveness. In that moment, it's easy to let those feelings take over, to lash out or say something you'll regret. But what if, instead of reacting immediately, you paused? What if you took a breath, observed the anger rising within you, and asked yourself, "Is this emotion serving me right now?" That simple act of observation creates space. It allows you to respond with clarity rather than react impulsively. This is emotional mastery in action. It's not about suppressing your feelings or pretending they don't exist. It's about acknowledging them, understanding where they come from, and deciding how to move forward. The Stoics called this prosach, or mindfulness. By practicing this kind of awareness, you gain control over your inner world, even when the outer world feels chaotic. So, here's a challenge for you. The next time you feel a strong emotion, whether it's anger, anxiety, or even excitement, pause for a moment. Observe it. Ask yourself, what's this emotion trying to tell me? Is it helping me, or is it clouding my judgment? Over time, this practice will help you build that Stoic mindset, one where you're not ruled by your emotions but guided by your reason. And that's where unstoppable confidence begins. Confidence grows when we appreciate what we already possess. This might sound simple, but it's one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic toolkit. Gratitude isn't just about feeling good. It's a practice that reshapes how we see the world. Instead of focusing on what we lack, we train our minds to recognize the abundance that's already present in our lives. Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, once said, "True wealth is a mind content with what it has." Think about that for a moment. It's not about accumulating more or chasing external validation. It's about finding richness in the present moment, in the things we often take for granted. So, how do we put this into practice? Start small. Maybe it's the warmth of sunlight on your face, the taste of your morning coffee, or even the fact that you woke up with a roof over your head. These might seem like ordinary things, but when you pause to appreciate them, you begin to see them as extraordinary. Gratitude shifts your perspective from scarcity to sufficiency. And when you feel sufficient, confidence naturally follows. You're no longer held back by the fear of not having enough. You realize you already are enough. Here's a simple exercise to try. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to write down 3 things you're grateful for. It could be something as small as a kind word from a coworker, or as significant as a personal milestone. The act of writing it down reinforces the practice, helping you internalize the sense of abundance. Over time, this habit rewires your brain to focus on the positive, building a foundation of confidence rooted in appreciation. Gratitude isn't just a feeling, it's a skill, and like any skill, the more you practice, the stronger it becomes. What small actions can you take today to build unshakable confidence tomorrow? This is the question Stoicism challenges us to answer, not just in theory, but through consistent, deliberate practice. The Stoics believed that true self-mastery and the confidence that comes with it isn't born from grand gestures or sudden breakthroughs. Instead, it's forged in the quiet, daily repetition of virtuous habits. As Epictetus once said, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig." If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen. In other words, confidence, like a fig, grows slowly through the steady cultivation of discipline. So how do we start? Think about your morning routine. It's a simple, everyday habit, yet it sets the tone for your entire day. The Stoics would argue that how you begin your morning is a reflection of your commitment to self-mastery. Do you wake up with intention, or do you let the chaos of the world dictate your actions? A morning routine doesn't have to be elaborate. Maybe it's 5 minutes of journaling, a short meditation, or even just taking a moment to plan your day. The key is consistency. By showing up for yourself every single day, you're not just building a habit, you're reinforcing your ability to control your mind and emotions, even when life gets tough. Now here's the challenge. Identify one small habit you can start cultivating today. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. In fact, the simpler, the better. Maybe it's committing to reading a page of Stoic philosophy each night, or taking a few deep breaths before reacting to a stressful situation. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Each time you follow through, you're proving to yourself that you have the discipline to act in alignment with your values, no matter the circumstances. And over time, these small, consistent actions compound into something far greater, an unshakable confidence rooted in self-trust and resilience. The beauty of this approach is that it's accessible to everyone. You don't need extraordinary willpower or a dramatic life change to get started. You just need to take one small step and then another and another. As the Stoics remind us, the path to confidence isn't about waiting for the perfect moment, it's about creating it, one habit at a time. Confidence comes from embracing the temporary nature of life. This might sound counterintuitive at first. How can acknowledging that everything is fleeting make us feel more secure? But here's the Stoic truth. When we accept impermanence, we free ourselves from the weight of clinging to things that don't truly matter. The Stoics called this the practice of memento mori, remembering death. It's not about being morbid or fearful, but about using the awareness of life's brevity as a tool to focus on what's truly important. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully: you could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. Imagine carrying that perspective with you every day. Suddenly, the things that once seemed so urgent, the petty arguments, the need for approval, the fear of failure, start to lose their grip on you. Consider this: right now you're holding onto something, maybe a grudge, a worry, or a desire for something you can't control. Now ask yourself, if you knew your time was limited, would this still matter to you? Would it still take up space in your mind and heart? This is the power of memento mori. It's not about living in fear of the end, but about living fully in the present with clarity and purpose. Think about the last time you wasted energy on something trivial, like obsessing over a social media post or stressing over a minor mistake. What if instead you channeled that energy into something meaningful, like strengthening a relationship, pursuing a passion, or simply being present with the people you care about? The Stoics believed that by confronting the reality of impermanence, we become more resilient, more focused, and yes, more confident. Why? Because when you stop chasing what's fleeting, external validation, material success, or temporary pleasures, you start to build a foundation of inner strength. You realize that the only thing you truly have control over is how you choose to spend your time and energy, and that realization, it's liberating. So take a moment to reflect. What would you do differently if you truly embraced the temporary nature of life? What would you let go of, and what would you start prioritizing today? The answers might just surprise you, and they could be the key to unlocking a deeper, more unshakable confidence. Are your actions aligned with your highest values? This is a question that Stoicism challenges us to ask ourselves every single day. True confidence, the kind that's unshakable, doesn't come from external achievements or validation. It comes from living in alignment with virtue. The Stoics believed that when our actions reflect wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline, we cultivate a sense of integrity that no amount of external praise or criticism can shake. As Seneca once said, it's not because things are difficult that we dare not venture. It's because we dare not venture that they are difficult. In other words, the path to confidence begins with the courage to act in accordance with what we know is right, even when it's hard. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine you're at work and you're faced with a decision that could either benefit you personally or uphold fairness for everyone involved. Maybe it's choosing to take credit for a team effort or speaking up when you see something unethical happening. These moments test our character. The Stoic approach isn't about perfection, it's about striving to do the right thing, even when it's inconvenient. When you make choices rooted in virtue, you build self-respect, and that self-respect becomes the foundation of unstoppable confidence. It's not about being flawless, it's about being consistent in your commitment to what's good and true. So, take a moment to reflect. How often do your actions reflect your deepest values? Are there areas where you might be compromising your integrity for short-term gains? Remember, confidence isn't something you gain overnight. It's something you build through small, consistent acts of virtue. Every time you choose honesty over deceit, courage over fear, or fairness over selfishness, you're strengthening that inner core of confidence. And the more you align your actions with your values, the more you'll find that you can stand tall, no matter what life throws your way. Seeking approval from others is one of the quickest ways to chip away at your confidence. Why? Because when your sense of worth depends on what others think, you're handing over control of your happiness to people who may not have your best interests at heart. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that true confidence comes from within, not from the fleeting opinions of others. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it this way: if you wish to be admired, then admire yourself. If you wish to be praised, then praise yourself. But if you wish to be loved, then love yourself. His words remind us that the only validation that truly matters is the one we give ourselves. Think about it. When you chase after praise or approval, you're essentially saying, I don't trust my own judgment. But the Stoics would argue that your self-worth isn't something others can give or take away. It's something you cultivate by aligning your actions with your values, regardless of what anyone else thinks. For example, imagine you're passionate about writing, but someone tells you it's a waste of time. If you let that criticism stop you, you're allowing their opinion to dictate your choices. But if you keep writing because it fulfills you, you're practicing a Stoic principle, finding your worth in your own efforts, not in the approval of others. This isn't easy, of course. We're wired to care about what others think. But the more you practice letting go of external validation, the more you'll realize how liberating it is to trust yourself. So take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you seeking approval? What would it look like to let go of that need and focus instead on what truly matters to you? The Stoics would say that's where real confidence begins, when you stop looking outward for validation and start building it from within. What if you prepared for the worst to appreciate the best? This is the heart of a powerful Stoic practice called premeditatio malorum, or negative visualization. The idea is simple but profound. By imagining potential challenges or losses, you build resilience and cultivate a deeper sense of gratitude for what you already have. Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, put it this way: he robs present ills of their power who has perceived their coming beforehand. In other words, when you anticipate difficulties, you strip them of their ability to overwhelm you. Let's break this down with an example. Imagine you're about to have a tough conversation with a colleague or loved one. Instead of avoiding the thought of it, take a moment to visualize how it might go wrong. What's the worst-case scenario? Maybe they respond with anger, or the conversation ends in disagreement. Now consider how you'd handle that situation calmly and rationally. By mentally preparing for the challenge, you're not only reducing anxiety, but also equipping yourself to respond with clarity and composure. But this practice isn't just about preparing for adversity, it's also about gratitude. When you imagine losing something you value, whether it's a relationship, a job, or even your health, you begin to appreciate it more deeply in the present moment. It's a reminder that nothing is permanent, and that awareness can transform how you experience life. So here's a challenge for you. Try this technique today. Think about something important to you, your career, your relationships, or even your daily comforts, and spend a few moments visualizing what it would be like to lose it. Then reflect on how much you value it right now. This isn't about dwelling on negativity, it's about building strength and perspective. By embracing this practice, you'll find yourself not only more prepared for life's uncertainties, but also more grateful for its blessings. True confidence is rooted in humility, not arrogance. Think about it. When we're truly confident, we don't feel the need to prove ourselves to others. Instead, we're secure enough to admit what we don't know, to learn from our mistakes, and to grow. This is the Stoic approach to humility, a deep understanding of our limitations, paired with a relentless commitment to self-improvement. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This strength comes from acknowledging that we're not perfect, that we're always works in progress, and that there's always room to grow. Imagine this: you've made a mistake at work, maybe even a costly one. The easy route might be to deflect blame or downplay the error, but the Stoic approach: own it, learn from it, see it as an opportunity to grow. Humility isn't about diminishing yourself, it's about seeing yourself clearly, flaws and all, and using that clarity to become better. It's about understanding that even the wisest among us are still students of life. Take a moment to reflect. When was the last time you admitted you were wrong? Or when did you genuinely seek feedback, not to validate yourself, but to improve? Humility is the bridge between where we are and where we want to be. It's the quiet strength that allows us to face our shortcomings without fear, knowing that every misstep is a chance to learn, to adapt, and to move forward with greater wisdom. This is the Stoic mindset, grounded, resilient, and always striving for growth. Confidence comes from effort, not innate ability. That's a truth the Stoics understood deeply. They believed that what truly builds unshakable confidence is the relentless pursuit of improvement, not the luck of being born with natural talent. Think about it. How often do we get caught up in comparing ourselves to others, wishing we had their gifts? But Stoicism teaches us to shift that focus inward. It's not about where you start, it's about the work you're willing to put in to get better every single day. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it this way: "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer you that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen." In other words, mastery takes time, it takes effort, and that effort, when applied consistently, is what builds the kind of confidence that no one can take away from you. Let's take an example: learning a new skill, like playing the guitar. At first, you might feel awkward. Your fingers fumble, the chords sound off, and it's easy to feel discouraged. But here's the Stoic approach. Instead of wishing you were a natural, you focus on the process. You celebrate the small victories: the first time you nail a chord, the moment you finally play a song all the way through. These aren't just milestones, they're proof of your effort, and every bit of effort adds up, reinforcing your belief in your ability to grow. The key is to stop comparing yourself to others. Someone else might pick up the guitar faster, but that doesn't diminish your progress. What matters is that you're showing up, putting in the work, and getting better over time. That's where real confidence comes from, knowing that you've earned it through your own dedication. So, the next time you feel intimidated by someone else's talent, remember, effort is your superpower. Focus on what you can control and let that effort build the unstoppable confidence you're striving for. How can simplifying your life actually boost your confidence? At first glance, it might not seem obvious, but the Stoics believed that the less we have to worry about, the more we can focus on what truly matters. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This idea reminds us that a simple life isn't about lack, it's about richness in clarity and purpose. When we strip away the unnecessary, we create space for what's essential, and that clarity can be incredibly empowering. Think about it when your life is cluttered with distractions, obligations, or even physical mess. It's hard to feel in control. But when you simplify, you regain that sense of mastery. For example, take something as small as decluttering your workspace. A clean, organized desk isn't just aesthetically pleasing, it's a reflection of a focused mind. You're no longer weighed down by the chaos of scattered papers or unnecessary gadgets. Instead, you're free to direct your energy toward the tasks that matter most. This small act of simplification can ripple into other areas of your life, building a foundation of confidence as you take charge of your surroundings. So, where can you start simplifying? Maybe it's your schedule, cutting out commitments that drain your energy without adding value. Or perhaps it's your digital life, unsubscribing from emails, limiting social media scrolling, or even deleting apps that distract you. The goal isn't to live with nothing, but to live with intention. Ask yourself, what's one area of your life that feels unnecessarily complicated? What's one thing you can let go of today to create more mental and emotional space? By embracing simplicity, you're not just decluttering, you're building a stronger, more confident version of yourself. Confidence grows when we understand ourselves deeply. This is where the Stoic practice of self-reflection becomes a powerful tool for building unshakable confidence. The Stoics believed that true strength comes from knowing who you are, what you value, and whether your actions align with those values. Marcus Aurelius, one of history's most famous Stoic philosophers, once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That power begins with introspection, with taking the time to look inward and ask yourself the hard questions. Self-reflection isn't just about thinking about your day, it's about examining your choices, your reactions, and your intentions. Did you act in alignment with your principles today? Did you let fear or anger dictate your behavior? These are the kinds of questions that help you grow. Journaling is one of the most effective ways to practice this. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to write down what went well, what didn't, and what you can do better tomorrow. It's not about being overly critical, it's about being honest with yourself. Imagine this: you had a tough conversation at work today. Maybe you felt defensive or insecure in the moment. Later, when you sit down to reflect, you realize that your reaction came from a place of fear, a fear of being judged or not being good enough. That realization is the first step toward change. The next time a similar situation arises, you'll be better prepared to respond with confidence because you've already examined and understood the root of your emotions. Starting a reflection practice doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as setting aside 5 minutes each evening to write in a notebook or even just think quietly about your day. The key is consistency. Over time, this habit will help you see patterns in your behavior, uncover your strengths, and identify areas where you can improve. And as you gain a deeper understanding of yourself, you'll notice something remarkable. Your confidence will grow, not because you've become perfect, but because you've become more self-aware. So why not give it a try? Tonight, take a moment to reflect. Ask yourself, what did I do well today? Where did I fall short? And most importantly, how can I align my actions with my values tomorrow? This small act of introspection can be the beginning of a profound transformation. How can helping others actually strengthen your own confidence? It might seem counterintuitive at first. After all, isn't confidence about believing in yourself? But Stoicism offers a profound perspective here. True fulfillment and self-assurance don't come from focusing solely on your own achievements or validation. Instead, they grow when you shift your attention outward toward contributing to something greater than yourself. Seneca, one of Stoicism's greatest thinkers, put it beautifully when he said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." That's the essence of service. It's not just about what you do for others, but how it transforms you in the process. Think about it this way. When you serve others, whether through volunteering, mentoring, or simply being present for someone in need, you're stepping outside your own worries and insecurities. You're proving to yourself that you have value to offer the world, not because of what you own or what you've accomplished, but because of the impact you can have on someone else's life. And that realization, it's incredibly empowering. It builds a quiet, unshakable confidence that doesn't depend on external approval or recognition. It's rooted in the knowledge that you're living in alignment with your values, that you're making a difference, no matter how small. Here's a practical way to start. Consider volunteering your time or skills to a cause that matters to you. Maybe it's helping at a local food bank, tutoring a student, or even just listening to a friend who's going through a tough time. These acts of service don't just benefit others, they remind you of your own strength and capability. They show you that you're part of something bigger and that your actions, no matter how small they seem, ripple out into the world. So, how can you serve others today? What's one way you can step outside your own concerns and contribute to the greater good? The answer might just surprise you and build your confidence in ways you never expected. Confidence comes from accepting reality as it is. This might sound counterintuitive at first. After all, isn't confidence about taking charge and making things happen? But the Stoics teach us that true strength lies in recognizing the difference between what we can change and what we cannot. When we stop fighting against the unchangeable, we free up energy to focus on what truly matters: our thoughts, actions, and responses. As Epictetus famously said, freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Think about that for a moment. Freedom isn't about controlling every external circumstance. It's about mastering our inner world. Let's take a real-world example. Imagine a natural disaster. No one can control the path of a hurricane or the shaking of the earth, but we can control how we prepare, how we respond, and how we rebuild. The Stoic approach doesn't mean we ignore the situation or become passive. Instead, it's about channeling our efforts into the areas where we can make a difference. By accepting the uncontrollable, we stop wasting energy on frustration and start directing it toward constructive action. So, what's something in your life right now that feels beyond your control? Maybe it's a difficult coworker, a global event, or even the weather. Take a moment to reflect. Are you spending mental energy trying to change what you can't? What would it feel like to let go of that struggle and focus instead on what is within your power? This shift in perspective isn't just liberating, it's the foundation of unshakable confidence. When you accept reality as it is, you stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming the author of your own story. How can patience build unshakable confidence? It might seem counterintuitive at first. After all, isn't confidence about taking bold, decisive action? But here's the Stoic perspective. True confidence isn't just about action. It's about the ability to stay steady, calm, and focused even when things don't go your way. Patience, in the Stoic sense, is about enduring challenges with a sense of calm persistence. It's the quiet strength that allows you to trust the process, even when the results aren't immediate. Marcus Aurelius, one of Stoicism's greatest practitioners, once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." Think about that for a moment. Patience isn't just waiting. It's about maintaining control over your reactions, your mindset, and your emotions, no matter how long it takes for circumstances to align. It's about understanding that some things are outside your control, but your response to them is always within your power. Let's take an everyday example: waiting for a promotion at work. You've put in the effort, proven your skills, and yet the opportunity hasn't come your way. It's easy to feel frustrated, even doubt yourself. But a Stoic approach would be to focus on what you can control: your attitude, your continued effort, and your ability to stay composed. By practicing patience, you build resilience. You show yourself that you can handle uncertainty without crumbling, and that's where unshakable confidence begins to grow. So, how can you start cultivating patience in your own life? Begin by reframing delays and setbacks as opportunities to strengthen your mindset. Instead of resisting the weight, use it to practice staying grounded. Remind yourself that every challenge is a chance to exercise your Stoic virtues: calmness, persistence, and self-discipline. Over time, this practice doesn't just build patience, it builds a deeper, more enduring confidence that can weather any storm. Confidence grows when we make deliberate, thoughtful choices. It's not just about acting quickly or impulsively, but about pausing to ensure our decisions align with our values and long-term goals. This is where Stoic philosophy offers a powerful tool: mindful decision-making. The Stoics believed that every action should be rooted in virtue, wisdom, courage, justice, and self-control. But how do we ensure our choices reflect these principles? The answer lies in the practice of pausing before we act. Seneca, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it this way: delay is the greatest remedy for anger. While he was speaking specifically about anger, his advice applies to all decisions. By taking a moment to reflect, we create space between the impulse to act and the action itself. This pause allows us to consider whether our choice aligns with our higher principles, or if it's driven by temporary emotions, external pressures, or fleeting desires. Let's take something as significant as choosing a career path. Imagine you're offered a job with a high salary, but it requires you to compromise your values or work in an environment that doesn't align with your sense of purpose. In that moment, the Stoic approach would be to pause. Ask yourself, does this opportunity reflect my virtues? Will it bring me closer to the person I want to become, or will it pull me away from my true self? By slowing down and reflecting, you're more likely to make a decision that builds confidence because it's rooted in clarity and alignment. Now, think about your own decision-making process. Do you often find yourself rushing into choices only to regret them later, or do you take the time to weigh your options and consider the long-term impact? The Stoic practice of mindful decision-making isn't about being indecisive, it's about being intentional. It's about ensuring that every step you take moves you closer to a life of virtue and fulfillment. As you move forward, try applying this principle to smaller, everyday decisions as well. Whether it's how you respond to a challenging situation at work or how you handle a disagreement with a loved one, pausing to reflect can transform the way you approach life. Over time, this habit will not only strengthen your confidence but also deepen your sense of purpose and inner peace. How can preparation help you face challenges with confidence? This is a question the Stoics asked themselves centuries ago, and their answer is still as relevant today as it was then. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the idea that confidence doesn't come from avoiding difficulties but from being ready to meet them head-on. Preparation, they believed, is the key to this readiness. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it simply: it's not what happens to you but how you react to it that matters. And how you react often comes down to how prepared you are. Think about it when you're faced with a big challenge, whether it's a tough conversation, a major presentation, or even something as routine as a job interview. The difference between feeling overwhelmed and feeling confident often boils down to one thing: preparation. The Stoics called this prosach, or mindfulness of the present moment, combined with premeditatio malorum, the practice of anticipating potential obstacles. By preparing for what could go wrong, you're not being pessimistic, you're being practical. You're arming yourself with the tools and mindset to handle whatever comes your way. Let's take a relatable example: studying for an exam. You wouldn't walk into a test without reviewing the material, right? The time you spend preparing, reading, practicing, and even simulating the exam environment builds your confidence. You're not just memorizing facts, you're training your mind to stay calm under pressure. That's Stoicism in action. It's about transforming uncertainty into clarity through deliberate preparation. Now consider your own life. What's a challenge you're currently facing or one you know is coming up? How can you prepare for it? Maybe it's breaking down a big project into smaller, manageable steps. Maybe it's rehearsing a difficult conversation in your mind or with a friend. Or perhaps it's simply taking a few moments each day to reflect on what could go wrong and how you'd respond. The act of preparing, even in small ways, shifts your mindset from fear to focus. It reminds you that you're not at the mercy of circumstances, you're in control of how you approach them. Preparation doesn't just build confidence, it builds resilience. When you've thought through the possibilities and practiced your response, you're less likely to be caught off guard. And even if things don't go as planned, you'll have the mental flexibility to adapt. That's the Stoic way: not to eliminate challenges, but to face them with clarity, calm, and yes, confidence. So, what's one thing you can do today to prepare for tomorrow's challenges? Start small, but start now, because every step you take in preparation is a step toward unstoppable confidence. Confidence comes from embracing imperfection. Think about it. How often do we hold ourselves back because we're waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect version of ourselves? The Stoics would argue that this pursuit of perfection isn't just unnecessary, it's actually harmful. Why? Because it keeps us stuck, paralyzed by the fear of not measuring up to some impossible standard. Seneca once said, "What is required is not perfection, but progress." That's a powerful reminder. Perfection isn't the goal, growth is. Let's take something many of us dread: public speaking. Imagine you're about to give a speech and you're nervous. Your palms are sweaty, your heart is racing, and you're convinced that if you stumble over a single word, the whole thing will be a disaster. But here's the thing: nobody expects perfection. In fact, the audience isn't there to judge you, they're there to hear what you have to say. The Stoic approach would be to focus on the message, not the delivery. What matters is that you show up, speak from the heart, and accept that it's okay to be imperfect. This idea applies to so much more than just public speaking. Whether it's a project at work, a creative endeavor, or even a personal goal, the pressure to be perfect can hold us back from even starting. But what if you shifted your mindset? What if, instead of aiming for flawless execution, you focused on taking action, learning as you go, and embracing the inevitable missteps along the way? That's where real confidence begins, not in being perfect, but in being resilient, adaptable, and willing to grow. So, the next time you catch yourself striving for perfection, pause. Ask yourself, is this standard realistic? Is it helping me, or is it holding me back? Remember, confidence doesn't come from never making mistakes. It comes from knowing that you can handle them, learn from them, and keep moving forward. Imperfection isn't failure, it's part of being human. And when you embrace that, you'll find a sense of freedom and confidence that no amount of perfection could ever give you. How can self-compassion become a secret weapon in building unshakable confidence? It might sound counterintuitive, especially when we think of Stoicism as a philosophy of discipline and resilience. But here's the truth. Stoics didn't believe in beating yourself up for every mistake. Instead, they practiced a profound understanding of self-kindness, recognizing that growth comes not from self-criticism, but from self-acceptance and gentle accountability. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." But let's pause here. What does strict really mean in this context? It doesn't mean harsh or unforgiving. It means holding yourself to a high standard while also treating yourself with the same compassion you'd offer a friend. Think about the last time you failed at something. Maybe you missed a goal, made a poor decision, or fell short of your own expectations. What did your inner voice sound like? Was it encouraging and understanding, or did it spiral into criticism and blame? Stoicism teaches us to reframe that inner dialogue. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I grow? This shift in perspective doesn't just help you recover from failure. It builds confidence by reinforcing the idea that you're capable of improvement, no matter the setback. Here's a practical example. Imagine you're working on a project and it doesn't go as planned. A self-compassionate approach wouldn't involve berating yourself for the outcome. Instead, you'd acknowledge the effort you put in, identify what could be done differently next time, and remind yourself that failure is a natural part of progress. This isn't about letting yourself off the hook. It's about creating a mindset where growth feels possible, not punishing. So take a moment to reflect. How do you talk to yourself when things don't go your way? Are you your own worst critic, or are you the supportive coach who helps you get back on track? Remember, confidence isn't about being perfect. It's about knowing you can handle imperfection with grace and resilience, and that starts with how you treat yourself. Confidence is built one small victory at a time. This isn't just a motivational slogan, it's a principle deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. The Stoics understood that true confidence doesn't come from grand achievements or overnight success, but from the steady accumulation of small, intentional actions. These little victories, when recognized and celebrated, create a foundation of self-assurance that can withstand life's challenges. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, once said, "No great thing is created suddenly." He wasn't just talking about external accomplishments. He was pointing to the internal growth that happens when we focus on incremental improvement. Every step forward, no matter how minor it may seem, is a testament to our ability to act with purpose and resilience. Here's how this works in practice. Imagine you set a goal to meditate for just 5 minutes each morning. At first, it might feel insignificant, but when you consistently show up day after day, you're not just building a habit, you're reinforcing your belief in your own discipline. That small win becomes a reminder that you are capable of following through, and that confidence spills over into other areas of your life. The key here is to actively acknowledge these moments. Too often, we dismiss them as unimportant, waiting for some grand achievement to feel proud of. But the Stoics would argue that progress, no matter how tiny, is worth celebrating. When you complete a task, no matter how small, take a moment to recognize it. Say to yourself, "I did this, I made this happen." This practice isn't just about boosting your mood, it's about training your mind to see the value in your efforts. Over time, these small victories add up, creating a sense of mastery and self-trust that can't be shaken. So, what's one small win you can celebrate today? It could be finishing a chapter of a book, taking a walk instead of scrolling on your phone, or even just sticking to your morning routine. The size of the win doesn't matter. What matters is that you notice it, honor it, and let it build your confidence one step at a time. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself how challenges could actually be your greatest allies in building confidence? The Stoics believed that every obstacle, every setback, and every difficulty is an opportunity for growth. Seneca, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "As long as you live, keep learning how to live." This simple yet profound idea reminds us that life itself is a classroom, and every challenge is a lesson waiting to be learned. Think about it. When you face a challenge, it's easy to feel overwhelmed or even defeated. But what if you shifted your perspective? What if you saw that challenge not as a roadblock but as a stepping stone? For instance, imagine deciding to learn a new language. At first, it might feel intimidating. The grammar rules, the unfamiliar sounds, the moments when you struggle to find the right words, it's all part of the process. But with each small victory, you grow. You become more confident, not just in your ability to learn a language, but in your ability to tackle difficult tasks in general. This is the essence of cultivating a growth mindset. It's about embracing the idea that you're not fixed in your abilities or your circumstances. You can always improve, always adapt, always learn. And when you approach life this way, confidence becomes a natural byproduct. You stop fearing failure because you understand that even failure is a form of progress. It's how you refine your skills, your mindset, and your character. So take a moment to reflect. How do you typically respond to challenges? Do you shy away or do you lean in? The next time you're faced with something difficult, try to see it as an opportunity to grow. Ask yourself, what can I learn here? How can this experience make me stronger? When you start asking these questions, you'll find that challenges don't just build confidence, they transform the way you see yourself and the world around you. Confidence grows when we stop caring what others think. It's a simple truth, but one that's incredibly hard to live by. We're wired to seek approval, to want validation from those around us, and it's easy to let those external opinions shape our decisions and even our sense of self-worth. But the Stoics offer a powerful antidote to this, the practice of detachment from opinions. Marcus Aurelius, one of the great Stoic philosophers, put it bluntly, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." Think about that for a moment. We value the thoughts of others, often strangers, over our own inner voice. Why? Because we're afraid of judgment, of rejection, of not measuring up. But here's the thing, no matter what you do, someone will always have an opinion. And those opinions are fleeting, inconsistent, and often rooted in their own insecurities. So how do we break free from this cycle? Start by valuing your own judgment above all else. This doesn't mean dismissing feedback or living in a bubble of self-delusion. It means trusting your own principles, your own sense of purpose, and letting those guide you. For example, imagine you're working on a creative project, a book, a painting, or even a new business idea. You pour your heart into it, but as soon as you share it, someone criticizes it. The Stoic approach isn't to ignore the criticism or get defensive. It's to ask yourself, does this align with my values? Am I proud of what I've created? If the answer is yes, then their opinion holds no real weight. Detaching from others' opinions isn't about becoming indifferent or arrogant. It's about reclaiming your power. When you stop seeking approval, you stop giving others control over your confidence, and that's where true freedom begins. So take a moment to reflect. Where in your life are you letting external opinions dictate your choices? What would it look like to trust yourself a little more? The answers might just surprise you. How can facing your fears strengthen your confidence? It might seem counterintuitive, but the Stoics believed that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's the willingness to act despite it. This is where true confidence begins to grow. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In other words, bravery isn't about eliminating fear. It's about choosing to move forward even when fear is present. Think about a situation where fear might hold you back. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting, asking for a raise, or even having a difficult conversation. These moments are opportunities to exercise courage. When you step into that discomfort, you're not just overcoming a specific fear, you're building a habit of resilience. Each time you act despite fear, you prove to yourself that you're capable of handling challenges, and over time, that proof becomes the foundation of unshakable confidence. Here's a simple way to start. Identify one fear you've been avoiding. It doesn't have to be massive, just something that makes you hesitate. Maybe it's reaching out to someone you admire, trying something new, or even setting a boundary you've been putting off. The key is to take one small step toward confronting it. Courage isn't about leaping into the unknown all at once. It's about taking that first step, no matter how small. As you practice this, you'll notice something powerful. The more you act despite fear, the less control fear has over you. It's like building a muscle. Each act of courage makes you stronger, more capable, and more confident. So, what's one fear you can face today? Confidence comes from living with intention and purpose. It's not just about feeling good in the moment. It's about knowing that what you're doing matters, that your actions are aligned with something greater than yourself. This is where Stoicism shines, because at its core, it's a philosophy that asks you to live with meaning. The Stoics believed that true confidence isn't rooted in external achievements or accolades, but in the clarity of your purpose. Seneca once said, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." In other words, without a sense of direction, without a purpose, life becomes a series of random events and confidence becomes fleeting. Think about it this way: when you know why you're doing something, when you're connected to a deeper sense of meaning, challenges feel different. They're no longer obstacles to avoid, they become stepping stones toward what you value most. For example, imagine someone pursuing a career not just for the paycheck, but because it allows them to make a real difference in people's lives. That sense of purpose transforms the way they approach their work, their challenges, and even their failures. They're not just working, they're contributing to something bigger, and that fuels their confidence. So, what about you? What's your port? What's the purpose that guides your actions? Take a moment to reflect on this. It doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It could be as simple as being a supportive friend, a dedicated parent, or someone who strives to grow and learn every day. The key is to identify what gives your life meaning and let that guide your decisions. When you do, you'll find that confidence becomes less about proving yourself and more about living in alignment with what truly matters to you. As we wrap up, let's bring together the core Stoic principles we've explored today. At the heart of Stoicism is the simple yet profound idea of focusing on what's within your control. Life will always throw challenges your way. Some you can influence, others you can't. But the key to unstoppable confidence lies in how you respond. By directing your energy toward the things you can change and letting go of what you can't, you create a foundation of calm and clarity that no external circumstance can shake. Another pillar of Stoicism is embracing adversity as a teacher. Every obstacle, every setback is an opportunity to grow stronger and wiser. It's not about avoiding difficulty, but about leaning into it, knowing that struggle is where resilience is forged. This mindset shift, seeing challenges as gifts rather than burdens, is what separates those who crumble under pressure from those who rise above it. And finally, cultivating inner resilience is the ultimate goal. Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from within. It's not about external validation or fleeting successes, but about building an unshakable sense of self. When you master your thoughts, emotions, and reactions, you become the architect of your own confidence. To leave you with a final thought, consider this powerful quote from Marcus Aurelius: "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. This is the essence of Stoicism, self-mastery. When you take ownership of your inner world, you unlock a level of confidence that's truly unstoppable. Now, I'd love to hear from you. How do you plan to apply these Stoic principles in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's build a community of resilience and growth together. And if you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe and join us as we continue exploring how to live with purpose, strength, and confidence. Thanks for watching, and remember, the power to transform your mindset is always within your reach.